Hi everyone, I'm Shaylin here with Reedsy. Today I'm going to be talking about working with a critique partner. So a critique partner is a fellow writer that you exchange work with in order for you both to get feedback on your work. Unlike beta readers who will read work for an author and answer questions about it, a critique partner is someone you exchange work with mutually and who you might exchange work with throughout the writing process. And ideally, a critique partner is someone that you have an ongoing relationship with and that you can discuss your work with and exchange work with over a longer period of time. Someone might recruit a couple beta readers to read over their manuscript, but a critique partner is someone that you probably want to develop a long-term relationship, maybe even friendship with, so you can help each other. Now, there are many places to find critique partners, and in my experience, most of the time, critique partnerships just evolve from friendships with fellow writers. If you are looking for a critique partner, I will leave a link to a post with over 50 places to find critique partners. In this video, I'm not really going to be talking about where to find critique partners, but how to work with one when you actually have a critique partner. Now, first of all, what should you look for in a critique partner? A critique partner should be around your same skill level, and you want to have an ongoing vested interest in each other's work. This should be someone whose feedback you trust and whose word you really value. If your critique partner's feedback just doesn't really resonate with you, it's probably not going to be a very beneficial partnership. You should be able to accommodate each other's schedules. You don't have to exchange work at the same time or write at the same pace. You should be able to accommodate each other's writing schedules and give feedback accordingly. Ideally, a critique partner is someone who gets your work but can still offer constructive feedback on it. So someone who is interested in your work and enjoys reading it but can still give you detailed, useful feedback. Most people will have 1 to 3 critique partners, or some people will have a group. I have a workshop group, and I find that that works really well for me since you can get feedback from multiple people, which I find is kind of to the next level of useful from getting feedback from just one person, but I also do have other critique partners that I work with just one-on-one. So a critique partner is someone you want to have an ongoing relationship with. When exactly in the process you exchange work is up to you. Unlike with beta readers, where you probably want to be sending them a pretty polished draft, critique partners often send each other very rough drafts, or send each other very polished drafts. It really is up to the person and when they think it's going to be useful to get feedback on their work. At first, you'll probably want to exchange a more polished draft, but as time goes on and you build more trust with your critique partners, you might find each other exchanging rough drafts or even helping each other through the brainstorming phase. So if you find someone who you think would be a good match to be your critique partner, here's how to get started with that partnership. First, start by exchanging some work. You want to make sure that this is a good fit in terms of feedback and that the other person is going to provide you feedback that will be useful in the long run. You also want to talk about how you're going to exchange work. How formal do you want this to be? Some critique partners might be really relaxed in their critique partnerships. I've had critique partnerships where it's super relaxed and we just kind of send each other work whenever. There's no kind of scheduling or formality to it whatsoever. But in other cases, you might be quite formal with your critique partners. Maybe if you don't have as much of a personal friendship with them alongside your critique partnership, you might approach it more formally. That's something that you want to discuss up front just so you both know what the expectations are. Figure out if you're going to swap work on any kind of schedule and how important it is to you that you swap work an equal amount. Personally, I don't really care if I read more work from my critique partner than they read of me, but if it really matters to you that you're swapping and critiquing equal amounts, make sure you're upfront about that from the beginning. Or if you want to take a more relaxed approach, maybe you prefer that each person just sends over work when they have it ready and it's kind of just on the honor system. You're here to help each other, so there's no point really keeping track of the formalities. Finally, if you have any kind of deadlines, make sure your critique partner knows that so they can work within that and provide you feedback when you need it. Now, we do have a video on giving a good critique that goes more in depth on this topic, so I'll leave a link to that in the cards for you to check out. But here are a few fundamental tips for being a good critique partner and giving useful critiques. First of all, follow etiquette. Be timely and only give the types of edits that your critique partner has requested. Don't give unsolicited feedback when it's not asked for, and give the type of edit the person has requested. So if they just ask for developmental edits, but then you send them back a bunch of line edits, you haven't really followed etiquette in that case or respected their wishes. Critique how you want to be critiqued. If you critique respectfully, you will probably get respectful critiques back. It's important to know your biases and tastes, especially when you're working with someone over a longer period of time. You want to give useful feedback, but you don't want to be imposing or pushing the story in a direction that's really just coming from a place of your personal tastes and it's just pushing it away from the author's vision. So know the difference between a story edit and one that comes from your personal tastes and one that's just shifting the story towards something that maybe you personally would like more. In general, try to use positive phrasing rather than negative phrasing. Talk about how the book can be improved rather than why it's lacking. So if you notice a pacing issue, rather than saying, this part of the book is boring and I found it hard to read, you could say, if the pacing through this section of the book were quickened, the reader's interest might be held more. So you can phrase the same feedback in a more positive way rather than a negative one. You also want to do your best to explain the why rather than just the what. Of course, there are going to be times that you're going to have an edit that you don't really know how to explain, but most of the time, if you want to give a criticism, try to explain why it's a problem and why you feel that way. So rather than just saying the protagonist isn't developed, try to give concrete examples and reasons why you don't feel the protagonist is developed. Do we not know anything about their backstory? Is their character voice inconsistent? Whatever it is, try to explain that. It'll be much more useful and it'll provide some easily actionable steps for your critique partner to implement. You also want to try to be objective in your phrasing. Just like how it's good to try to phrase things positively, try to phrase things objectively. So instead of saying the plot is boring, which is quite subjective, try to phrase it objectively by bringing in evidence. So for example, because the protagonist doesn't have a clear goal, the story is lacking in tension. This is much more objective because it's pulling from actual examples and components of the story. And finally, remember that you're not a replacement for a professional editor. You and your critique partner are both just writers trying to help each other learn, and that's fantastic. Critique partnerships can be really, really beneficial and really help not only the quality of the manuscript, but help you improve your skills long term. However, neither of you has authority, and all of your suggestions are merely that, suggestions. Neither of you are a professional editor. So don't try to replace a professional editor or see the story from the perspective that a professional editor might, where they have those objective qualifications. So to summarize, a critique partner is someone you exchange work with in an ongoing and mutual way. When you're looking for a critique partner, try to find someone who's around the same skill level as you and make sure that you have an ongoing interest in each other's work. Start by exchanging work with your critique partner to make sure you're going to be compatible in terms of feedback, and discuss the terms of your critique partnership. How formal is it going to be? Are you going to be on any kind of schedule? Does anyone have a specific deadline? How do you want to exchange work and how do you want to receive critiques? When actually giving a critique, remember to follow etiquette and critique as the author expected, and know the difference between an objective story edit and something that's rooted in your personal taste. Try to use positive and objective phrasing, and when possible, explain the why and not just the what. So that's all on critique partners. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any new videos from us. We've got new writing, editing, and publishing tips every Tuesday and Friday. Until next time.